Gesaffelstein is often referred to as the dark prince of techno, and with sounds like this, it's kind of easy to see why. So the other day I tried to make a cheeky little edit recreating the sound. Yeah, I got a few comments. And so here's that tutorial on how to get that aggressive French techno sound without it just turning into noise. So I'll be breaking down the bass synthesis, the effects, the drums processing in order to get that bass synthesis. It was all done on my Moog, I still haven't got that name right, Sub Phatty, but I've recreated it here inside of Serum. Super simple MIDI pattern, by the way, something not too complex. Keeping it nice and simple and also a little bit haunting as we deviate from this root note to give a bit of tension between F sharp and G. These are the two oscillators, almost a square wave and a bit of a saw wave for the second, an octave apart. But the main driver of the sound is, look at that D-tune on the second oscillator. That's almost one semitone deviation, which is just super analog and nasty. Both oscillators cranked to the limit. A little bit of a release on that amplitude envelope. So really a super simple sound modeled in the way that like a classic synthesizer would make a sound. No growl wavetables or anything like that. So to break this down inside a Serum, release cranking that. And like I showed before on the Sub Phatty, the first oscillator is kind of just deviating from that square wave into a saw wave. In order to do this, you can just load up default shapes. Editor, I'm going to put the square wave right next to the saw wave because I want to overlap the two right here. But if you can see when I change wavetable, it's just one or the other. So we want to blend those together, morph, crossfade, and then come back out. So saw wave and it will blend into square. So just a little blend between the two. Octave down, here we go. Os-B will just be square wave. So now we need to introduce that classic detuneness. A couple macros on this as well, replicating some stuff on the Sub Phatty. Sync, which is basically just turning up this sync window, which is creating like a hard sync. A little bit dirty of a sound, and a pitch envelope, which is a special shape kind of here, but it's bumping up the coarse tune on only the second oscillator. So when we crank this up, we get a bit more modulation to the sound, which sounds fantastic. And that is the main Sub Phatty / Serum patch. Time to get into some effects. And I feel like when it comes to techno, a lot of people are replicating the kind of analog sound. So with that mindset, I'm not gonna go for any kind of crazy effects. I'm gonna go for a phaser, I'm gonna go for a saturator and some overdrive, and that's about it. These effects just do a little subtle something, so apart from the obvious fact that it's definitely louder, a little bit more extra character there. But for whatever reason, no matter how I tried to perfectly replicate the synth inside of Serum, it still wasn't quite sounding the same. Like, so here's Serum, and here's the Sub Phatty. Like, I got the settings identical, but there's something about that just sounded, I don't know, a little bit more analog. Which is funny that. Busting into the drums, very straightforward, 4 on the floor kick pattern. Love that, nice and easy, find a kick that just works. And for the clap, a personal favorite of mine, which I absolutely love doing all the time, is just taking white noise and then molding it with fade in and out to how you want that clap to sound. And then the secret sauce is overdrives, and you're distorting a very niche band, which kind of emulates the clap kind of sound. And you just keep adding overdrives until you get the sound you want. So before, it's starting to sound like a clap, but just needs to be kept in check. It's just a little bit too much at this point. A little EQ. And then a delay to finish it off with the Haas effect. So the left side's delay is slightly different than the right side, so it's going to be a nice stereo sound. And that's all there is to the clap. And it's super, super effective. Couple of little extras, hi-hat on the kick. A little bit more top end. On every second clap placement, I'm going to introduce some kind of distorted reverb percussion element. Very Gesaffelstein. And then some more whatever the hell this is in the background, as our kind of filler towards the end of the section. So, cymbals are pretty straightforward too, but super effective. Just one on every beat. Classic open hi-hat on the offbeat. And then some more hi-hats playing on every 16th. But with the one which would normally sit on the kick, that's just deleted. So and then pan hard left. Don't know why, it's just listening to a bunch of Gesaffelstein songs, and the hi-hats would really just pan all over the place. So yeah, that's what I'm going for here. No idea what this kind of sound is, but it works a treat. So when we slam all the drums together with a little bit of saturator and some bit crush, to just reduce the harshness of the high end and just sizzle it out. That's, I think, the best way how I'd describe it. That sounds really clean and clear. Just got a bit more dirt to it now. Build elements really quickly, a little bit of a vocal repetition. And this is where the hard sync comes into play, just for this build up. A little bit of a different sound. With a massive kind of bandpass expanding filter shape. And then once it hits the drop, the filter's gone, the sync is turned off, and we get that classic detuned kind of saw wave, square wave sound. Why does that sound so much? Maybe it's the classic, if you're making techno, you may as well do it on a hardware synth. But I feel like plugins these days are so well at emulating just old hardware stuff. Kind of don't need the synths, but I don't know. So with this drop, each 2 bars, something new is introduced. Original sound. Next 2 bars, cymbals. Second oscillator pitched up 1 octave. And then the pitch envelope. And that is hopefully shedding light into that Gesaffelstein sound. And the best news of all, in this project file is entirely my own sound, so I can give it away for free. So, link in the description, you'll find the project file for this Ableton track. I'll include this recording from the Sub Phatty as well, if you want to kind of edit that, chop it, change it, rearrange it, whatever. Hopefully you learned a thing or two. Catch you guys next time, and peace.